Okay. So anyway, you have to hire a ton of people. So hiring costs, each person you hire is $900, right? And so,
I'm sorry,
go ahead.
after the 960, could you explain how you got the 1458 and then the 6659?
Oh, up here.
For the monthly
You mean,
required?
oh, okay. So there's a, you have to, I don't have the problem. I don't have the problem up here right now. It was 6 employees, right, you guys?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Let me zoom. Let me just make this a little bit bigger here. That's better. Okay. So 6 employees times 4 weeks per month times 40 hours per week should give you 960 hours.
Okay.
So, but you need 6,780 hours, correct?
Yes, Professor.
Yeah. So then you subtract what you currently have on staff from what you need and then divide by 160 and you get 36.38. So you have to hire 37 people. Is you guys with me on that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so 37 people, and then each one, to hire each one is $900 each. So 37 times 900 should give you 32,300. And then, so any questions on that part? Okay.
So I just had a quick question, because when I was
Yeah.
doing the homework, I was looking at the PowerPoint from last week,
Uh-huh.
and then I saw how to find how to hire the number of employees. That slide on the PowerPoint was talking about if it's no back orders. Is it always going to be like no back orders then, or because I
Yeah,
saw
the only scenario we're doing for the final is level production without back order.
okay, because yeah, I saw that slide, and then I was just wondering if that's how it would be.
No, so there's only one scenario we're doing for this, and that's level production without back orders.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. I show you those other scenarios because it's kind of interesting to see the outcome of them, but you're not tested on it. So
Yeah.
all right, so then the wage cost 162,000. So if you take this 6780 here and multiply by the wage of $24 an hour, you should get 162,708. And then your ending inventory each period in labor hours gets multiplied by $7 per labor hour for inventory costs. Okay, so anything more I can answer on this? Are you guys clear enough on how it's working?
Professor, will we do a review of this before the final?
Yeah, I can go through it again or have some other scenario created for you if it helps you. Yeah, we can do like a 3-period one or something on a whiteboard if it helps you.
Yeah,
So,
that would be much appreciated. Thank you.
So yeah, so you have 2 examples. You have the PowerPoint slides. You have this homework now. I'm going to be posting this, and so I'm going to give you these tables. I'll give you this structure here, the first table. I'll give you the second table, and so I'll give you all these structures, and you have to populate them.
How many questions of these will be on the final?
You guys are funny. I don't know exactly. I'm getting there, you guys. Just not there yet. I mean, there's only room for so much information, so I don't know, maybe 2 or 3. Okay. Do you guys need that screen any longer, or are you done?
I think
Is it
we're
good?
good.
Okay. All right. So now going back to inventory. So really three purposes. It's a stock of materials. It's really to satisfy customer demand or to support production of service and goods. So but let me look at this slide first. This slide here is one of my favorites because it tells the whole story. You know, I could say as much as I want about it and, you know, for 20 hours, but this tells the story. So really it's a holding tank, if you will. So here's production that comes out at a certain rate. And so this catches it and controls the output. And there's some scrap, of course, but in general, it's a holding tank. And so it gives your production a place to go. And so just in case your output varies for whatever reason or stops or what have you, it has a place to go without shutting production down. So that's probably one of the best visuals I can give you guys for inventory. But these two primary things, right? Satisfy customer demand, and which is so key in so many industries, and then to keep production moving. So those are the two big reasons. So, but inventory is expensive. So, any questions on that? Okay. All right. So there's two categories. You guys need to know this because I think this is on the final two. So independent demand items will be stuff that's ready to be sold or used right away. Now, these can vary from company to company. Okay. So an independent demand item. So what would you think of as an independent demand item?
Finished goods.
I'm sorry?
Finished goods.
Yeah, finished goods. And so, but it also could be, you know, just think about it that it could, you know, it varies from business to business. So independent demand item could be a solid state hard drive from Seagate Technologies. You know, it's ready to go. It goes and it's a finished product. It gets shipped to its customer and they're done. You know, and so that's where the definition of these two is it's important to remember. So a dependent demand item would be a raw material subcomponent, but notice that a dependent demand item can be also an independent demand item, depending on what business you are and where you are in the supply chain. So I just want to be clear on that. So I wouldn't try to, you know, make some hard question out of it. It's just if I give you a finished item like a car or, you know, freshly baked brownies or cookies or whatever, then you know it's independent demand, right? If I give you cocoa powder, you know, that's on a tree in, you know, in Zimbabwe or Madagascar or something, or vanilla beans, right? Then you know more than likely it's a dependent demand item, right?
Makes sense, Professor.
Okay. All right. So one of the reasons we spend time on inventory, and this is a question you should be able to maybe think about, is inventory and what it can do to cash flow from operations. And so cash flow statements look at incoming cash and outgoing cash. And cash flow statements are also used to sometimes put a value on a company. And so if the value of the company is a multiple of cash flow or free cash flow sometimes, how could inventory affect cash flow?
Too much inventory would restrict cash flow.
Correct, right? And so bleeding off inventory, the kind of the opposite of that would do what?
Would improve cash flow.
Right, which would drive up anybody?
Liquidity.
It could drive up the sale. It could drive up the valuation of the company, right? So the reason I put this slide in here is this is a classic case of, or an example of companies that are preparing to sell themselves, let's just say, will start maybe a gradual decline in inventory period over period to inflate their cash flow, to artificially inflate their value. And so it's just something to look for in the footnotes of publicly traded companies and privately held companies for that matter, if they're audited. But so it's just something to think about. Inventories sometimes used as a manipulative tool for company valuation. So I put that in there because it's, it's, you see it, and so any questions on that? Okay. Okay. So there's multiple types, 6 types of inventory that we'll look at here. And so the most common that you might think of might be raw material, for example, because it's just, easy to think of. It's something that's required for production, and it can be, whether it's rubber and making running shoes or garden hoses, or maybe it's integrated circuits for computers, for example. And so so raw material can be all of those, right? Any questions on that? Hang on, I'm just trying to get some out of my backpack. Hang on. And so work in progress process then would be another form of inventory. This is stuff that's half built, or stuff that maybe a car that's got the body on it, and but it still needs an engine and a transmission. So that would be an example of work in process. And then finished goods inventory or merchandise. And so what have we learned about finished goods inventory? In some businesses, it can be very volatile, right? Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, some businesses, high technology and the like, can have very volatile finished goods inventory. So hey, what's Best Buy doing now, you guys? Are they laying people off right now? I bring up Best Buy for a reason. Anybody familiar with what Best Buy is going through right now? I bring them up for a reason. So would Best Buy have a very stable finished goods inventory that wouldn't decline or change in value? Because they could be at this point. I mean, if they are laying people off and closing stores or whatever they're doing, would their finished good inventory value be at risk?
Yes.
It would be, right?
Shopping?
It would be, right?
Yeah.
So, and
There's
why is that?
Less demand.
Less customers.
Yeah, and so and that inventory ages, and if that inventory ages, high technology and TVs and all those things, they can diminish in value very quickly. So anyway, that's a little bit on finished goods inventory. Tools and supplies, and those are fairly insignificant levels of inventory, but still, I mean, they're still assets. So by supplies, this would be like filing folders and pencils and things like that, so that's another form of inventory. But one category that's often overlooked is maintenance and repair, or MRO inventory. And so that can be very, very valuable. And can any of you guys give me an example of why that would be?
If you have regular maintenance of your equipment, you stay functional. If you don't do regular maintenance, your machines can break down, and then you're, not able to produce the product.
Would that
Yeah,
also
and so
spare parts
yeah.
to fix machines if they break down?
What's that, Howard?
Would that also include spare parts to fix machines if they broke
It
down?
would be. It would be. So I just bring attention to this category because sometimes having a critical piece of inventory and maintenance and repair can keep a facility running, but sometimes those items are very, very expensive. And so, for example, when you're homogenizing milk or orange juice or any product where you're trying to get a product that naturally separates into two components to be homogeneous, they use these devices called a homogenizer, and it's a machine that literally beats the product into submission, so to speak, so it's all uniform. And so these homogenizers have large crankshafts in them. They're a huge mechanical device, very noisy, and it's a violent process. Anyway, these crankshafts every now and then will break, and when they do, it's $100,000 repair. So the smart processors will keep one of these in spare parts inventory, and it's a very expensive piece of inventory, but it will also keep the plant running. Because if you had to order one of these, in general, they're overnighted from far distances in general. Sometimes they have to be overnighted from Europe, depending on who makes this stuff. And, it's not something that, and it's also a very expensive part to overnight too. It's a heavy thing, right? So anyway, it's something that can be, that can add up as far as cost and be a significant source of inventory. And then any questions on that? Okay. All right. Then lastly, goods in transit. This is stuff that's, on the back of a truck. And goods in transit in general, does anybody know about goods in transit, who's responsible for that product? Anybody?
Doesn't it depend on the shipping itself, on who pays for it, whether it's the shipper or the receiver?
Yeah, so some customers, I mean, in general, commercial, I mean, business law, in general, freight on board means that once it leaves the facility, it's the customer's responsibility. And so, yeah, there's insurance with transportation companies and stuff, but in general, it's their responsibility. But some of the more aggressive customers will demand that it be freight on board at arrival at their factory. In other words, they don't take any responsibility for it until it's unloaded off the trailer. So, but goods in transit, again, it's something to consider because we've had it happen. We've had $200,000 and $300,000 shipments, involved with truck accidents and things like that, and so it's something to consider because it's still, it's still inventory, and in some cases it's still inventory until it reaches the customer, depending on what your arrangement is with shipping documents. So anyway, it's another form of inventory. So anyway, this slide shows the different types of inventory, raw material. If you look at like these bolts that go into a package that goes to retailer, they start out as a solid piece of material, then they're machined and threaded and eventually packaged, and then they sometimes go to distribution.